I wish you all could see the dance that our meteorologist Trevor Robideau was just doing to that opening jingle. But hello, everyone. Welcome to Up North Live Unscripted on this Monday evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully you all are staying warm out there because, oh my goodness, it is a cold one. Definitely a day where I'm so jealous of all the snowbirds who go down south during the winter time. And if you're not a fan of the cold, it sounds like tomorrow is going to be even colder, right, Trevor?
Yeah, and you know that dance that I was doing was to make sure that I could
stay warm.
To stay warm. It's so cold. I'm cold just thinking about it.
Yeah, I know,
Got
right?
It's a very bitter cold day today. Wind chills were below zero all day, and they will be again tomorrow too. So at least for the next 24, and actually even more than that, 36 hours at least, it looks like we're going to stay very, very cold. So we're going to take a look at the temperatures right now. Why don't we? So we'll take a look now, pull up our weather graphics. There you go. So anywhere from -2 to, what is the high temperature around here? Petoskey's 8 degrees right now. So single digits or below zero around northern Michigan. And when you factor in the wind chill, yeah, bitter cold, well below zero when you factor in the wind chill. -16 in Cadillac, -13 in Newberry. Like I mentioned, tomorrow will actually be a little bit colder, and it will stay that cold through at least half of Wednesday as well. Beyond that, we also have lake effect snow. None of this is system snow. It's all lake effect, classic lake effect too, because outside that you actually see a little bit of sunshine and clearing skies. Into the eastern upper northern Luce County towards Whitefish Point and Chippewa County, some lake effect snow. And then Petoskey in the northern lower up towards Pellston and parts of Charlevoix and Antrim County over towards Gaylord and Mansalona, and also right along our West Michigan shoreline communities like Leelanau down towards Mason County getting some snow this evening as well. So I'll talk about the cold and more lake effect snow in the main weather in more detail.
All right, thanks, Trevor. We'll check back in with you after our first commercial break. But during weather conditions like this, when it's this cold outside, a lot can go wrong, especially inside your home or in your car. So Up North Live's Daniel Zivian found some businesses that are helping people through these conditions, and he found these businesses in one of northern Michigan's coldest places. So here's Daniel with that full story.
I'm in Pellston, halfway between Petoskey and the Mackinac Bridge. The town is known as the icebox of the north, but don't just take the sign's word for it.
Coming from Levering, I can watch the degrees drop as I come to Pellston.
A friend of mine actually had a news clipping from back in the 80s to where Arizona it was 105 degrees and here it was -36.
I'm under the impression that western Minnesota or somewhere thereabouts gets colder on a normal basis.
But these business owners are braving the bitter cold with a smile. After all, they're often needed the most on days like these.
Broken water pipes, bad batteries, broken windshield wipers, broken snow shovels and snow plows and stuff like that. So when a blizzard hits or when cold weather hits, that's when things get busy.
We always try to help people out as best the way we can to get them in here if they have an issue right away. But typically, most shops are backlogged right now because of the weather.
I asked both Cook and Jude what they thought people should know before they become walk-in customers.
Banking snow up around the house helps with insulating the house. That's a huge thing that you notice. As soon as the snow starts to come, if you can get it up against the house, that helps with pipes, it helps with heating.
Make sure you let it warm up before you go because the windshield needs to clear off, your wipers need to work and all that good stuff. Your batteries are gonna be lower, so it's gonna be harder for them to start. Just the hydraulic systems aren't gonna push through the fluid like they're supposed to. It's just, nothing wants to work when it's cold. The most important piece of advice he told me, above all else, is this. If you don't need to go outside, don't go outside. And here I am, reporting from the icebox of the north, Daniel Zivian, Up North Live News.
And Daniel is joining us live now, and luckily this time he did take advice and he is inside. So hey Daniel, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey Maya, it's the least I could do for my own well-being.
So we learned a lot of interesting tips from your story. I want to circle back to that, but I want to focus first of all on the fact that Pellston is known as the icebox of the north. So I know you've been in Pellston quite a bit. I'm sure today's probably been the coldest day that you've ever been in Pellston. Did it live up to the name?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't, between the three of us involved in this story, we couldn't get the clearest picture on why that is. it's quite possibly that, or it's quite possible that it has to do with perhaps some lower altitude. I think, I forget if it was Don or Dylan who referred to it as being sort of a basin compared to some other areas, and that might be where the nickname comes from. Unfortunately, I did not wind up speaking with the town librarian on the subject. So I wish I could report some more straightforward facts on why it's the icebox of the North. But it is pretty self-explanatory when you're there as it's happening, as it's, snowing. You just, I had to shoot all of this stuff very quickly, for a few minutes at a time, because even with the gloves and the hat on, you just cannot be out there for too long if you can help it.
And maybe that's a good follow-up story. If you can touch base with the librarian, we'll get to the bottom of when this name really came to be. But okay, so as I mentioned, a lot of important tips in your story. What are some other things that you learned about keeping your home and your car safe during weather like this?
Well, one of the best things you can do for yourself isn't necessarily involving the car. I tried to limit the amount of stuff I could include, as I always have to, due to time constraints. But something you can do is, help you help yourself. Because if you're driving, maybe you think you've done everything right, and you're in the middle of the woods, as you often are in northern Michigan, and your car breaks down, or you skid off into a ditch. Something awful happens. Hopefully that doesn't happen to anyone, but it very well could. You're going to want to have maybe different set of shoes or boots. A blanket, perhaps. Have some food and water ready to go. Do as much as you can, to be prepared for the eventuality that you might be stuck outside for a while. Again, that'd be pretty unfortunate, but always best to be prepared. Not just the mechanics, but, yourself, you, the human machine.
Sure. So that's probably the most important thing, is be prepared no matter what. But are there certain things that we can do to try to prevent these sort of situations from happening, like your car breaking down in the winter?
Well, there's always just warming it up every chance you get. I have to remind myself sometimes, especially on weekends when I'm not going out into the world and I'm hunkering down here in my apartment, that you're still going to want to go out and run the car. And it's probably best to, get it checked in other ways, with an oil change or with a dealership, just to make sure that things are still spick and span. If not, I guess what I would say is, from what I gathered at the auto repair place and at the hardware store, it's not necessarily anything different from what you would do at all other times of year. The real difference is just doing it before you think you need to. Just being proactive about your normal, chores goes a long way in being ready for things.
Sure. So what about when it comes to protecting your home during these cool temperatures? What are some other things that people can do that you learned today?
Well, I actually happen to have one of them here in my apartment. And I didn't get this at the hardware store, to be clear. I've had this for a little bit. But I guess I wasn't planning on this, but I guess we'll show this off.
You have to now, yeah.
Yeah, they make these things here. Actually, this is a better way to show it. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's a sort of quasi-insulation. It's not necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but you get some tape and you have this sort of film celluloid material, and you span it over the window. And it's covering the whole thing, and you tape it around all the edges. This particular structure I'm in doesn't take well to wind, especially in this particular room. The wind hits it really hard. I was warned about this when I moved in, and so when it got cold out last year for the first time, went and got these at, I forget if it was Myers or Walmart, could be either, and that helped sort of keep the wind from making the room too chilly. If I didn't have these up, I probably wouldn't be doing this bit in this room. I've actually got the box right here. This is not an advertisement, by the way. I want to make that very clear. Yeah. And I'm sure they make this with other brands, but this is what I've got here. This is a 2-window installation kit. I didn't do the hairdryer thing that it's describing on the cover, but what it's supposed to do is save up to 35% of heat loss with the crystal clear film. That's a very winded way of describing that. But yeah, if you've got poor windows, that's an option. Unfortunately, I did not get as many hardware tips as I got auto tips. Because I also talked about driving a bit with Dylan at the hardware store. We talked a bit about how, because part of his shop also deals with autos, at least a little bit, not to the same scale. He sort of talked about how, we've done a lot of comparisons with last year's milder winter. And one thing's for certain, the driving quality has not improved. Or it's gone down since last winter as people adjust to the icier roads.
That is for sure. And yep, you can go outside and see the proof probably wherever you are. It's rough out there in the roads right now. But Danny, in about 30 seconds, is there anything else that you want to mention before I let you go?
Oh my gosh, 30 seconds.
I know, no pressure.
I don't know what to do with that. If you want to take your picture by the sign that says Icebox of the North, the park you're going to want to park at the dentist's office closer to the airport on the north side of town. That's where I was able to do that. Also, right next to a nice little snowmobile trail. I had some company heading down the trail while I was trying to film my stand-up. That's probably the main thing I can think of, because really the best way to sum all of this up is just, be proactive and be cautious.
Sure.
Everything else is commentary.
All right, very valuable information, Danny. Thank you so much for joining us and for going more into detail on all of that. Now, let's transition from staying safe in the cold temperatures to keeping our kids safe in school. So while their students had the day off, teachers, staff, and school resource officers met at Kalkaska Public Schools for training today. Now, the whole goal of this was to better understand the next steps when preventing or responding to a safety concern or a violent act. And our Allie Baxter was there, and she shows us how Northern Michigan school districts want their staff to be ready and to be able to work with law enforcement.
We said we have to do this.
It started as an inspiring pitch at a state Homeland Security conference. Now dozens of teachers, school resource officers, and first responders spent their day off here in the high school auditorium at Kalkaska Public Schools.
When the school gets excited about a certain program like this, it was an easy choice for the Sheriff's Department to look at this as how can we help support that.
The safety program presented by the I Love You Guys Foundation promotes 5 building blocks for a response to any situation. It was the simplicity of the program that caught the attention of Kalkaska's superintendent.
Back at one time, we had to slide green and red cards under doors to show if we were safe or if we were not safe. And, it just started with those type of exercises years ago. And, there were times when we would do certain drills and people would be asking, well, is that a shelter in place or an actual lockdown?
The program also emphasized the need for schools and law enforcement to be on the same page by speaking the same language, citing that communication is something that helps or harms any situation.
If we can proactively plan for events and then just pray that they don't happen, that is our best bet. But we don't want to be unprepared. We try to prepare for most situations. I know program mentions there's never the same thing twice, and everything's a little bit different.
With a mission to restore and protect the joy of youth, the foundation calls upon communities to work together to make this a reality, something that already happened to bring the safety program here by writing and applying for grants with Kalkaska County nonprofits.
We're about the kids, keeping the kids safe, and we love our kids, and we want to do whatever it takes to keep our kids safe.
In Kalkaska County, Allie Baxter, UpNorthLive News.
And let's turn things over to our question of the day related to Allie's story today. How confident are you in schools doing all they can to keep children safe? You can scan the QR code on your screen right now. You can see some of the early results that are coming in. So 26% are very confident, 28 somewhat confident, 46 not confident. We will continue to keep an eye on those results and look at them towards the end of the show, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. Meteorologist Trevor Robideau will have much more on your forecast and when these cold temperatures will end coming up next.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back, everyone. We have a follow-up to our conversation with our reporter Daniel Zivian. He was in Pellston today, which has the title Icebox of the North. He wasn't exactly sure where that name came from, but luckily we have a meteorologist right here who can explain it to us. So Trevor, take it away.
Yeah, what's up with that? You should have talked to a meteorologist, right? Well, the simplest explanation, because I don't have a whole lot of time to talk about it, is remember that old rule we learned when we were younger that warm air rises and cold air sinks? Well, the initial thought that he had mentioned is that one of the people said, well, maybe it's at a lower elevation. And well, that's exactly it. Pellston and some other areas in northern Michigan are the same way. Vanderbilt and Wolverine are the same way, where they sit at a little bit of a valley, where they're kind of in between surrounding areas that are of a higher elevation. And so what happens is cold air sinks, right? That means that the coldest air will drain and go to the lowest possible spot, which in Pellston's case in Emmett County is Pellston, right?
Makes sense.
So
yeah.
There you go. That's why Pellston would be, it feels like, and a lot of times is the coldest spot, especially in the winter. So anyway, talking about colder temperatures, we mentioned it's obviously a very, very cold day today, and it's going to continue to be so if we continue on over the next 36 hours. Real temperatures are in the single digits and below zero, and the wind chills are far below zero. Dangerous levels of cold. This is frostbite in less than 30 minutes levels of cold. Very not good to be outside. Here's our forecast. Real temperatures, as I mentioned, we will not get warmer tomorrow. It will stay cold throughout early in the morning. I know a lot of school closings tomorrow, but if you have plans to still be outside, expect a lot of areas to be at or below zero for real temperature very early on in the morning. And then as the day progresses on, we'll warm up into the single digits. Not much of a warm up, I know. But the real temperatures will not warm up a whole lot. We'll still be in the single digits, and the wind chills will be well below zero for the entirety of tomorrow as well. Now, Wednesday. On the second half of Wednesday, not the morning will still be cold. But on the second half of Wednesday, we should begin to see warmer air trickling in from the southwest later into the afternoon and evening. So if you want our warm-up, there it is. It's late Wednesday into Thursday is when we're going to warm up. Otherwise, we still have some lake effect snow into parts of the eastern upper and Luce County and Chippewa County as well. Northern lower up towards Petoskey, Pellston, Mansalona, Gaylord, and parts of Antrim, Charlevoix counties. Getting the heaviest bits of snow this evening over into Sheboygan as well. This is going to continue on for the remainder of tonight and a good portion of tomorrow too. The wind's not expected to change for at least the next 12 hours as that snow continues to trickle in our Lake Michigan shoreline communities. The second half of tomorrow, the wind will start to shift to more out of the southwest a little bit, and that'll push our snow bands up towards the north. You can see some snow trickling in over the bridge and then into the eastern upper again by Wednesday and kind of sticking along the Lake Michigan shoreline communities as well. Snowfall forecast on that, same areas like today, close to the waters of Lake Michigan and inland around Boyne City and Boyne Falls and surrounding areas up towards Petoskey and northern Luce County up towards Whitefish Point will be the areas that get the most snow, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches or more for the heaviest bands in the next 24 hours. Tonight, a cold one, 11 below to 1 above, and tomorrow still a weather-worn day for cold temperatures, bitter cold, so make sure to bundle up, warming up in the second half of the week.
All right, thanks so much, Trevor. Stick around. We're going to take another quick break, but sports is next. Stay with us. Boy, was it a tough weekend for the Detroit Lions and us fans. And then today, some pretty sad news that we all saw coming, but I just didn't really wish it happened today. So let's bring in our sports director, Harrison Beebe. And Harrison, that big news I'm talking about is, of course, our offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, officially accepted a position with the Chicago Bears to be their next head coach.
That's right, Mine. You didn't get it from Adam Schefter. You heard it from me.
I got it from Harrison Beebe. Yep.
Not that I was doing any reporting on that, mind you, but definitely, yeah, that was the big news of the afternoon. And the rumblings had been out there for a while.
Right.
That both coordinators, offensive and defense, and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, they were both going to be pretty heavy head coaching candidates, and odds are one, if not maybe both. Dan Campbell had said in his press conference earlier this afternoon before that news came out that there was a good chance they were both going to be gone, and he was kind of planning ahead. And Ben had been a head coaching candidate for a few off seasons now. Yeah. So really, there's no right or wrong time, but if these guys want to cash in on the potential investment of being a head coach, it is quite a significant pay increase. So it is tough to think that it's the Bears. That seems to be the big criticism. Nobody seems to mind that he's leaving, but it is going to be a team that the Lions themselves kind of detest and that they will see twice a year. But you know, I say that to say maybe Lions fans will be mad at me for putting this out there, but believe it or not, Ben Johnson grew up not despising the Chicago Bears like the average Lions fan, so he does not view this as a move that's a betrayal or, you know, in any way insulting to anybody else. It's a business, and he did what he thinks is best for him in his career. And
sure. Fans,
what they should do is they should boo him as loud as they boo Matthew Stafford. I think that's the appropriate thing to do for the two games going forward where you see each other. But hey, real quick, Maya, before we go, we do have another football game coming up tonight. I think we got a graphic for that. It's National Title Day, and who would have thought at the start of the playoff we'd see these two teams going at it for the national championship? But here we are, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Who you got, Maya?
I'm going to take Ohio State. Their offense is just so good. My dad said it best today. They could be a professional team. So I'm going to take Ohio State.
There's a lot of NIL money on that team as well, for sure. Notre Dame, though, before we go, they got Josh Burnham from TC Central and Max Bulla played at Traverse City St. Francis. He's their linebackers coach. So we got a couple Traverse City ties to the Fighting Irish if you want to cheer for them tonight.
And a quick little tie. Oh, sorry to interrupt you, but just because we have to wrap, but just want to mention this for my Indiana Hoosier fans out there. There's probably maybe one of you watching. These are the only two teams that Indiana lost to this year. So that kind of makes me feel a little better. All right, thanks so much, Harrison, for that. And that'll do it for sports. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Let's take one final look at our question of the day. How confident are you in schools doing all they can to keep children safe? 26% say they're very confident. 30% say somewhat confident, and 45% say not confident. So if you haven't voted yet, head to our website, UpNorthLive.com, and be sure to join us tonight on Up North Live News at 11, because that'll do it for Unscripted. But thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night, everyone.